For most of my life, I thought that connection was this magical thing. Like some people just had it and some people just didn't. And I always felt like I was one of those people who didn't.
And apparently I'm not the only one. Half or more of US adults report significant signs of loneliness.
That's insane. And the more I thought about loneliness, the more that I knew I needed to understand it.
So I dove into the research to find out why we're so lonely, what is happening in our brains when we feel connected to someone, and how we can feel more connected to other people. And what I figured out blew my mind. It turns out
that I was completely wrong. Connection isn't magic, it's biology. So, let's get into it.
A new public health epidemic, loneliness.
Loneliness.
The reward centers light up when we have connection.
Loneliness is comparable to smoking.
Life is about connecting, and connecting is about taking on other points of view.
At first, our need for connection almost feels like evolution made a mistake. If loneliness is so bad for us, then why would natural selection choose to make us feel lonely? So the first thing that I want to understand is why we feel the need to connect with other people at all. And to do that, we need to go back to a time where loneliness meant something completely different. For most of human history, we lived in tribes of roughly 150 people, and this was extremely important for our survival. While some people hunted, others prepared food, built shelter, collected water, and raised children. So if you were alone, the odds of surviving weren't great. If it's one person against a woolly mammoth, they don't really stand a chance. But if it's 6 people, well, now you have dinner. This need for connection isn't an evolutionary mistake. It's natural selection's genius way of keeping us alive. So what changed? Why is something that was designed to keep us alive now hurting us?
Well, the world that we're living in today isn't the same world that natural selection molded us for. We evolved in small tribes with constant face-to-face interaction and shared daily life. Today, we have more access to people than ever, but less of the kind of interaction that actually makes us feel connected.
But that brings up another question. What is it that actually makes us feel connected? So I went back to the research, and now I think I'm able to map out the system that happens in our brains when we connect. But to explain it, I'm gonna need some help. Allow me to introduce you to Dave. I know this is technically Harry Potter, but for the purposes of this example, we're gonna pretend his name is Dave. It's Friday night. Dave lives alone and he works from home. Other than grabbing lunch at that sandwich shop across the street, Dave hasn't talked to anyone today.
So because there's a mismatch between the amount of social interaction that he had today and the amount of social interaction that he desires, his brain releases dopamine. That might sound strange because we usually think dopamine is released when something good happens, but that's not the case. Dopamine is released to get you to seek out that good experience. It's the motivation chemical. And it is step 1 in the recipe for connection.
So now that Dave feels motivated, he calls his friend Alex, and he asks him if he wants to see this new movie that just came out. Alex says, yeah dude, I'm super down, so they go meet up at the movie theater, get their popcorn, and find some good seats. And as they watch the movie, something interesting begins to happen.
Their bodies start to synchronize. Because they're watching and experiencing the same thing, their autonomic responses begin to align. Autonomic being the parts of your body that run automatically without your control.
It's your heart rate, your breathing, pupil dilation, sweating, your stress response, and a lot more.
This type of physical synchrony correlates with connection. When our bodies feel the same, we feel more bonded.
A big part of shared experience is shared physiology, and shared physiology is the first building block of connection. It's like if you've ever been watching a sports game with a friend or even a random person. The team you're rooting for scores and you both jump up and cheer.
You're physically feeling the same things, and I bet in those moments you felt very connected to the people that you're watching the game with.
And there's a bunch of studies showing that people whose brains respond similarly to the same experience are more likely to become friends.
And this is exactly what's happening between Dave and Alex right now. They're having a great time. They laugh at the same moments, and halfway through the movie, they even both tear up when the protagonist's mentor dies.
They feel connected.
But the inverse is true as well. If the mentor dies and one of them laughs and one of them cries, something shifts.
They're no longer sharing the same emotional experience, and that gap creates distance and disconnection.
But luckily for Dave and Alex, that's not what happened. They both laughed and cried at the same moments, so their bodies stayed in sync.
Now the movie ends, and as they walk to their cars, they start to talk about the movie. They compare what made them laugh, what they liked, what they didn't, and which characters they related to.
They don't necessarily agree on everything. Dave thinks the movie could have been 15 minutes shorter, while Alex thinks it could have been 15 minutes longer.
But, and this is the really important part, they both respect how the other person thinks and want to learn more about why they think what they think.
They ask questions and want to hear the other person's response.
This is cognitive empathy. It's when you try to understand why someone feels the way they do, and it is another core piece of connection.
It's a loop between two people where they both feel heard and understood. Now, our boys are still talking. Neither of them wants to go home yet.
10 minutes go by and Alex starts to open up about how he related to the protagonist. He admits he's been struggling with not knowing what he wants to do with his life, and it was really nice to see the main character overcome the same uncertainty.
Now, Dave hasn't experienced that same uncertainty, but he does take the time to try to feel and understand Alex's feelings. And most importantly, Alex feels like Dave understands and feels his pain.
This is emotional empathy. It's the ability to emotionally feel what the other person is experiencing, and it is the final ingredient in this recipe for connection.
And because of all these ingredients, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins get released, and cortisol levels drop. So that feeling of loneliness that Dave and Alex were feeling fades away. These bonding and reward chemicals are the glue that gets released and then holds everything together. This is the system that occurs in our bodies. This is connection.
So if that's how connection works, why does it still feel so hard? Is it just the modern world, or is there something else going on? Yeah, there's something else going on. Let's revisit our friend Alex. It's 2 weeks after the movie. Alex is washing dishes when his girlfriend Sarah gets home.
Okay, I know this sync isn't great, but please bear with me. It's the best I could do.
Sarah's super excited and tells Alex that she just got offered her dream job. Alex is happy for her, he smiles and hugs her, but seeing Sarah succeed like this reminds him of how lost he currently feels. Sarah can tell something's off, so she asks Alex why he's not more excited for her.
He says he doesn't know and shuts down. In that moment, Alex and Sarah feel extremely disconnected.
Alex's insecurities stops him from being able to fully align with Sarah's emotional state, and that misalignment is where disconnection can be born. Insecurities can get in the way of connection.
Now, of course, Alex knows he messed up and apologizes to Sarah. A month goes by.
Sarah's new job is in Missouri, so they move across the country. Now it's her first day at the new job, so she and Alex go out to dinner to celebrate. Alex asks how it went. Sarah says it went good, but doesn't really give any details. Alex throws out a couple more questions, but doesn't really get much from Sarah.
Sarah had a bad day. Her boss was mean and she didn't make any friends. But instead of saying that, she tells Alex that everything was fine. Boom, more disconnection.
Without honesty, empathy can't happen. And as we know, without empathy, connection falls apart. Dishonesty is the next thing that can block connection.
Now to learn about the third, let's return to our friend Dave. All of a sudden, he doesn't have anyone to call when the dopamine kicks in. What could he actually do to go connect with someone?
He can't just go up to somebody on the street and say, hey, you want to hang out? They would think he's crazy.
In order to connect with somebody, you need a base layer of psychological safety. And that's not just trusting that the other person isn't going to murder you, although that is part of it. It's also feeling emotionally safe enough to be yourself around them.
And even if that random person on the street said, yeah, I'm down, let's hang out, it's really hard to connect with somebody right away. It's estimated that it takes roughly 50 hours of time together to move from mere acquaintances to casual friend, 90 hours to go from that stage to simple friend status, and more than 200 hours before you can consider someone your close friend. Real connection requires time and consistency.
So Dave has no one to call and nowhere to go. This is where something interesting happens in the brain.
When we feel socially rejected or lonely, some of the same brain regions that process physical pain activate.
That pain causes our stress response to ramp up. Cortisol levels increase, we become more reactive, and social situations become harder to navigate.
As a result, Dave starts avoiding other people, which only makes him feel more lonely.
Loneliness is a vicious cycle that can be really hard to break out of. And as crazy as it sounds, loneliness itself is the third thing that can make it hard to connect.
Now Dave is in a position like so many of us. He's lonely, he feels disconnected, so what the heck should he do? How do we actually connect with more people and strengthen our relationships? Dave knows that he has to work with the systems in our bodies, not against them. So he does these 3 things. Step 1, understand yourself. Figure out what genuinely interests you. Dave really likes playing board games, so maybe that's something he could use to connect with other people. We also have to learn how much social interaction we actually need. Introverts usually feel satisfied with less social interaction, while extroverts need more stimulation to feel equally satisfied. The better you understand yourself, the easier it is to build strong relationships. Step 2. Remove the barriers. As we know, connection can break down when insecurity or dishonesty gets in the way. So if Dave wants better relationships, he has to address the things that disrupt connection. And that doesn't mean you have to be perfect before connecting. Growth can happen alongside of relationships. Step 3, and this is the obvious step, but increase exposure and repetition. The more opportunities that you give yourself, the more likely you are to find people that you genuinely click with. I did say this is the obvious step. Dave goes to a game night at a local board game store where he makes a friend. Her name is Lucy, and she also likes board games. So, yeah, connection isn't something that somebody has or doesn't have. It's two people feeling safe and trying to understand each other. It's shared experience and emotion, then reward systems activating. It's biology, evolution's way of keeping us alive all this time. And yeah, the world we live in today makes it harder to connect. But real connection is well worth the effort. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to watch another video, I think you can click somewhere around here and there should be another video for you to click. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you again. Peace.